Good morning. I will now open the Board of County Commissioners' issues and updates on this July 26, 2022. Gary Schmidt, what's up first?
Thank you, Chair Smith. All commissioners are present. We are going to start with an item that's not on the agenda, and that is discussing the performance of your two employees, the county administrator and county counsel. Go ahead, Chair Smith.
Thank you very much, Gary. The Board of County Commissioners has just completed their performance evaluation on Head County Counsel Stephen Madcore and County Administrator Gary Schmidt. We are prepared to go forward with our salary adjustments. Commissioners, any comments, and do I have a motion?
That would be time to give praise.
I was going to wait for the motion. And may I reflect a good degree amount of humor involved in this. Commissioner Fisher, I will entertain your motion. Merit, just merit 3.5. Yes.
Okay, Chair Smith, I move that we approve a 3.5% merit increase for both County Counsel Stephen Madcore and County Administrator Gary Schmidt.
Second.
Thank you. Commissioner Fisher has made a motion for merit increases for both our County Counsel and County Administrator. Commissioner Schrader, there's too many S's up here, has seconded the motion. I would want to say that during these evaluations, I believe these two gentlemen have performed very well. I believe they have exceeded the board's expectations on their performance. We have had very difficult times we've maneuvered through. We've had a lot of issues that people listening to this have no idea what we deal with. And those aren't always public because we're protected by executive session on some of that. Some of the items the public knows about. I see a lot of department heads in this room. You understand what those ongoing issues are, and we're all trying to maneuver through them the best we can. I personally feel we have two of the best employees at our head counsel and administrator that we could have in the entire region, if not the state of Oregon. It is acknowledged that there's always room for improvement, but that's the human condition. It is also acknowledged that we always aren't perfect, and that is a human condition, and I take responsibility for myself on that. So everything's a learning experience, especially in this hubbub of craziness that we see in the public and as government. We offer services to the people who seek them, want them, and at times demand them, and we do the very best we can to provide the public with what they think the local government should provide. It starts at this dais, it starts at this level, it goes to Gary Schmidt, it goes to Stephen Madcore, and then all you get to participate in that as well. So with that in mind, commissioners, are there any further comments regarding this?
Chair, I'll just jump in. So first of all, for all of you out there who work for the county, and especially in this particular setting, the administrator and our legal counsel, you all deserve praise for tolerating us. It is difficult. We have substantial challenges, frankly, that with all the emergencies we've had and so forth, we've navigated quite a bit. I want to just give my thanks and appreciation to all of our staff and all the departments throughout. But particularly here today, Mr. Madcore and Mr. Schmidt have helped us guide through all those emergencies. I appreciate their leadership, and again, it's nothing but praise. So thank you. Keep up the good work.
Thank you, Commissioner Savas. Would any other commissioner? Commissioner Scholl, you're up.
I don't think anybody questions the professionalism of Gary Schmidt or Stephen Madcore or the services they provide for this county. But I want to say that every time we have a step increase or a COLA increase, it also comes with a PERS increase. This county needs to be very aware of the cost of personnel. And so I mentioned that only because at some point in time, we need to ask ourselves when enough is enough. Our county attorney and our county administrator are well paid. They're also very well respected and appreciated. So again, everybody in the county needs to be aware of the cost to this county for payroll and we need to be very careful about increasing that cost. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Scholl. Commissioner Fisher.
Thank you, Chair Smith. I so appreciate both of you. I've been a commissioner since 2017, and when you were in your role as Government Affairs Director, you quickly became a right hand to me and offered guidance and support while you were in that role, and continue as County Administrator, steering a ship that is like, during all these emergencies, is really seems unfathomable, but you have been able to do it with the support of county staff, which is stellar, and really willing to step up when stepping up just seems so overwhelming. I mean, I just think of those times, just observing the emergency operations centers for all of the emergencies that we've had, and just seeing the incredible dedication and going beyond with creativity and ingenuity to solve some of our most difficult problems. And then Stephen Madcore, always there on the other end of the phone whenever an issue comes up, and always giving good legal advice and counsel. Just so trust your counsel and advice, and so have appreciated working with you over these, gosh, it seems like it's been since 2017. That's quite a few years now. So thank you both.
Thank you.
Commissioner Schrader.
Ditto to everything.
I will now call for a vote, but before I do that, I've noticed that Stephen Madcore is wearing his red ball jet sneakers. Is that for a quick escape, running out of here?
Take my money and run.
Yeah, that's what I figured. Okay. Thank you very much for that, Stephen. Tony, please call the poll.
Commissioner Fisher,
Aye.
Commissioner Schrader,
Aye.
Commissioner Savas,
Aye.
Commissioner Scholl,
Aye.
Chair Smith.
Aye, motion passes 5-0. Thank you very much for that. Gary, what's up next?
Thank you, Commissioners, very much for the kind words. It's an honor to serve you. Thank you. Next, I'm going to stay in the Board of County Commissioners issues list because we have a guest, and that is the Clackamas Workforce Partnership Annual Update and Budget Presentation. This is required by law for you to receive this update, so we're doing it here at Issues. Christina Fadenrecht, who's a policy advisor for our team, will give a quick introduction and then introduce our guests, Bridget Daisy and Peter Lund. Go ahead, please, Christina.
Thank you. Good morning, Chair Smith, Commissioners, and Administrator Schmidt. My name is Christina Fadenrecht, and I am a policy advisor in County Administration. And today I'm here to welcome Clackamas Workforce Partnership, also referred to as CWP, and CWP's Executive Director, Bridget Daisy, and the Board Chair, Peter Lund. CWP is the county's workforce investment board, and as outlined in the partnership agreement with the county, they provide an annual budget presentation and strategic plan update. And today, the action being requested from you is to accept the budget update and strategic plan update. And with that, I will turn it over to Bridget and Peter.
Please
Thank you.
come forward. Bridget and Christina, thank you for the introduction. We do have a printed copy of the presentation. I appreciate that. So with that in mind, I will turn it over to both of you. Who wants to start first? And please introduce yourselves.
Excellent. Good morning, Chair Smith and Commissioners. I'm Bridget Daisy, the Executive Director of Clackamas Workforce Partnership, and use she, her pronouns, and been serving this area since 2008. Peter?
Hi, I'm Peter Lund. I'm the CEO of Somos and the COO at Super Genius Studio in Oregon City. I have been serving in various volunteer positions with the county since I was in high school with Paul Savas on a Complete Communities board way back in 2005. But for the last 10 years, been serving in the Economic Development Commission, and most recently, I'm honored to be chair of the Clackamas Workforce Partnership. Thank you so much for having us today.
Thank you. Go ahead.
Absolutely. So we did provide a PowerPoint presentation, so we're just going to walk through that. Feel free to ask questions about anything that we're doing. This work is complex, and there's a lot of passion around it. And so I would imagine there's questions about the nuances of this work. So I'm going to make sure that I'm referencing the slides that you are doing. You want to go ahead and get started?
Sure. So we can start with slide 2, and that's the 13 functions of the WIOA board. So WIOA is the Workforce Innovation and Opportunity Act, and what it empowers our nonprofit board to do is to receive and allocate federal and state funds to workforce issues. And so we're charged with multiple things, developing a local plan, but particularly what this board does well is engaging directly with our local employers and our local workforce to make a customized plan that features local control from our employers to make sure that we're allocating our resources in ways that are supporting the jobs that our workers in Clackamas County need, but also that our employers need in the state. So we prove promising practices. We keep good data. We coordinate with our education providers. We coordinate with local business. And at the end of that, we empower our service providers through funding with resources they need to do that good work.
The third slide is our sources and uses. So as a local workforce board in the state of Oregon, we are mandated to not deliver direct service. So all of the funds that we receive that are meant to be direct service, we contract out with local providers. So what you'll see is the areas of focus that we have on our board. Our board membership is a required formula of 50% plus one private sector, 20% requirement for labor union apprenticeship programs, and then we have kind of 3 other buckets, one for education, one for government and public services, and then the third that 5th area is all others, and that's determined by you as the Board of County Commissioners. And so as you can imagine with the 50% and 20%, our board hovers usually around 23 members. And we contract out with a series, plethora of organizations and are regularly going out for contract and requests for procurement. We contract with Clackamas Community College for adult and dislocated worker services, Clackamas Education Service District for youth services, the Immigrant Refugee Community Organization for adult and youth services, the Oregon Manufacturing Extension Partnership as our one-stop operator, and now more recently some sector strategy work. Also, Technology Association of Oregon is going to be coming on as a contractor for our technology sector. And then Ant Farm is a new youth provider for us.
So the board and staff do our work through the lens of our mission, our vision, and our values. Our mission is addressing critical workforce challenges that meet the need of businesses and strengthen the local economy of Clackamas County. We want to do that because Clackamas County thrives with a skilled workforce that creates sustained economic prosperity for new and existing businesses. And the way we do that is by being collaborative, responsive, pragmatic, and solutions-oriented, and at the end of the day, equitable. We want to make sure that all of the citizens of Clackamas County receive these resources in a way that is fair and just. So for 2021 through 2024, we have a range of strategic goals. For business, our work is to align public and industry partners to make workforce recruitment, retention, and advancement broader and more effective. We want to create a workforce ecosystem with public-private partnerships for business, education, and community-based organizations that are actively invested in the challenges that are meeting our workforce and communities today. And as we've discussed, we have a whole layer cake of exciting challenges in front of us as a community. And then with people, we want to ensure that all of the people of Clackamas County are competitive in the 21st century economy, which is changing at a very rapid pace. And so one of the things that we're good at is being maximally adaptive as we meet the rapidly changing challenges of this economy.
The Workforce Innovation and Opportunity Act does direct us to create a strategic plan, which Peter just walked through. It also requires, WIOA requires priority populations to be acknowledged and also serviced first. So our WIOA mandated populations are veterans, people with disabilities, those that receive public subsidy or benefits like SNAP, TANF, housing supports, low-income community, and adult basic skills deficient. Additionally, we have added priority or populations locally because our our area, our county, our region is diverse, and there are a lot of needs related to the intersections of barriers that people feel.
So on slide 7, you'll see the budget and brief narrative for the fiscal year 2022-2023. We review this budget and approve it at the executive committee and board level. And what this budget reflects is the response from the federal and state government to the challenges that we've experienced over the last 2 years. So you'll see that our budget is larger than it's been previously, and that's mainly because we're starting to see the resources that are coming out of the pandemic response flow down to the workforce board level. Particularly, we're seeing an expanse in future-ready budgets and the Oregon Youth Employment Program, and I think Bridget can speak a little bit more to that.
Yeah, so the Future Ready Oregon passed out of the legislature this year, and it is going through a few different departments at the state level. Some of those funds are flowing through the workforce boards, not all of them are, but our expectation is that all will be coordinated through the public workforce system. And I just want to also capture on slide 8, the Construction Careers Pathways Project, which I know we're presenting, or Tracy's presenting on immediately after this. And I just wanted to give that update that this last program year, the $50,000 investment did cover 7 folks' tuition, and all of those individuals that were supported were either persons of color or women into the trades. The last slide of your PowerPoint is our opportunities ahead and what we're excited about. Of course, Future Ready, I think, is going to be a huge boost for our state and region as we start to deploy those funds as prescribed in the law. We also, and that's supposed to be ARPA funds, my apologies for that. So ARPA funds will be forthcoming. We don't know how much we're going to be getting yet, but that we should know by the end of September. The Child Care for All is something that we hope to be talking with you about in the near future, because as that work starts to unfold and we start to try to address the child care crisis that we're in, we'll need all the support that we can get. It's an all hands on deck type of issue. The Quality Jobs Initiative is new to our region. We began that work in 2021 and are now ready to start deploying that into the community. And we can share a little bit more about what that is, but ultimately it's a framework of that was created with a council of employers and job seekers and community members to create a 7-item framework of what quality jobs look like. Clean Slate Clackamas is our expungement clinics, which are going really successfully and helping people connect with opportunities now that they have clean records, and the C2P2. So we'll take any questions that you have, and we really appreciate the partnership with the county. There is not one department that we work with. We work across many departments and divisions within the county. So there is a great deal of work that we can do together and continue to do together.
Thank you both for presenting the slideshow. You are quite ambitious, broad initiatives that this board is yet to consider, the board yet to make decisions on the policy. I understand the need for workforce development in this county, and I've done some work on that, as all my commissioners have. I see one commissioner, Commissioner Savas.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for the presentation. Appreciate the work that you do. Without a workforce, businesses and all of us would be in deep trouble. So I put a lot of stock in that. What is the best metric you all have that talks about or speaks to the success or not for CWP?
So we are measured on no less than 6 WIOA mandated performance metrics. And those are someone got a job, they kept a job, they entered a credential or a certificate program or some degree program, and then they completed. Those are a little bit different for our youth programs, but a lot of them mirror the same. The only difference is measurable skills gain is there for our youth program. And so those are required by law. And then we have self-imposed metrics that are really kind of guiding us toward more our outcomes. Like we anticipate that we are disruptors of generational poverty. And so we pay very close attention to the jobs in our community. Are they quality jobs? Are they paying living wages? What are their benefits? And then we'd like to see those increase. So we're really supportive of the county goal around increasing that 15% by 2026. And then other outcomes like reducing recidivism for people who have background issues. So those are all areas that we hold ourselves accountable to, but those WIOA mandated is that someone got a job, kept a job, or completed training.
Okay, great, thank you.
Yeah, absolutely.
Commissioner Scholl, you're up.
Yes, good morning, Bridget and Peter. Thank you for the briefing. One thing I didn't see in here is how do you coordinate with our K through 12 schools and our community colleges to help shape the preparation of our young people to be competitive in the workforce?
I love that question. So one is there's a requirement for education partners to serve on our board. So we have adult basic skills in higher education represented by Clackamas Community College. And more recently, our K-12 representative, Shay James, who's the current superintendent of North Clackamas School District, just submitted her application, so she'll be joining the board. We partner with all 10 of our school districts in various ways, because as you can imagine, what works in Oregon City doesn't work in Malala or Wilsonville, West Lynn. And so we're partnering with them based on the needs that that school district or those high schools are acknowledging. We're also working with them across childcare, after school and summer programs. We have really strong partnerships with Oregon Ask, or the Oregon After School and Summer Network organization that serves the whole state. And really the idea is that our funds are of last resort when it comes to youth. So the 75% of our youth funds, federal funds, must be spent on those that are not, those individuals age 14 to 24 that are not engaged in work or school. And they're what's known as our and I'm forgetting the name of what they call those that youth. But the idea is that we are serving those that are most in critical need. Now, as we receive additional funds like the Oregon Youth Employment Program, which is funded by the state, that opens up a little bit more of who we can serve. So our partnerships with our education partners are extremely important because they're the ones delivering the service that we're investing in, and then we're also helping and walking alongside of their career technical education programs and thinking about the future, because what exists today might not be what we need in the future.
I really appreciate that
absolutely.
very long answer. We have two other commissioners in the queue, and we are time limited today. Commissioner Schrader.
Yeah, Bridget, can you elaborate a little bit on the sector strategies that you're working on with the Columbia Willamette Workforce Collaborative?
Yes, with our partners with Work Systems and Workforce Southwest Washington, we have the CWWC, and our targeted sectors are technology, healthcare, construction, manufacturing, and locally we've identified early care and education as a targeted sector.
Excellent. Thank you for that. Commissioner Fisher.
Wow, Bridget, you can talk really fast and clear. That's a pretty amazing skill. I love the work that you do, and I've just been kind of cyber stalking you on your website, going a little deeper dive, and I was looking at who currently is on your board of directors. Incredibly impressive with all of the diversity and the different disciplines that all come together to inform the work. So, question, Commissioner Schrader and I just got back from Adams County, Colorado, where we heard a lot. We participated in the Prenatal to 3 Leaders Academy, and it was really fascinating to see the different initiatives that are happening around the country. So for our work, I'm interested, there are a lot of business representatives. Is there any informal or formal connections between our business representatives to connect to their larger networks, whether it's through, we have so many chambers throughout Clackamas County or other more formalized networks, so that this work is broader than workforce partnership?
Great. That's an excellent question, Commissioner Fisher. Thank you. I can speak to that a little bit because I'm one of those private people. So we do bring all of the resources that we have to the table. When I first began on the Clackamas Workforce Partnership Board, I was also the chair of the Oregon Games Organization. And so one of the things that I brought to the conversation around technology was how we could foster curricula and job skills around real-time simulation. And so everybody, because this is a collaborative, it's right in the name, is looking to bring the resources they have to the table because it's beneficial to them. Because if I can get our educational partners invested in my workforce needs to start pumping out really high-quality real-time developers, my goodness, I have a stronger company. And so it's just something that's fostered in the culture of the organization, also in our board meetings and the conversations that we have.
Thank you.
I want to appreciate your enthusiasm and your energy that you bring to this topic. It's very much needed. I noticed in the packet there is a legal agreement, Stephen Madcore, about how this partnership was established. It says a partnership agreement between Clackamas Workforce Partnership and the Clackamas County Board of Commissioners, signed in 2015 by a previous chair, John Ludlow. Does that need to be revised, or are we okay on that? Gary?
You're okay as it is, correct, Bridget? We don't need to revise that.
I don't think so.
But I'm also mindful of older contracts like this, and I assume they were continuing operating under this contract. So thank you very much. Any other closing statements? Thank you, thank you. I think that this board is mindful of the issues that you brought forward. I know I am. I think we're going to look at some exciting opportunities. You know, we have a problem, but I always look at problems as an opportunity to move forward. And so you're going to help us with that, aren't you?
You bet.
Yes. Commissioner Fisher?
Yeah, I'm just looking here at our staff report, and we have 3 options. And the first option is to accept the annual CWP budget presentation, and so I would like to make that motion.
Okay, I'll second.
Commissioner Fisher has made a motion to accept the CWP budget presentation and overall presentation, just not budget. Commissioner Schrader has seconded that motion. Any further discussions? Seeing none, Tony, would you please take the poll?
Commissioner Schrader,
Aye.
Commissioner Savas,
Aye.
Commissioner Fisher,
Aye.
Commissioner Scholl,
Aye.
Chair Smith.
Aye, motion passes 5-0. Weehaw, you're on your way.
Thank you.
So much.
All righty, Gary, what's up next?
Thank you. The next topic related, we're going to go right into Construction Career Pathways Program Update, C2P2. Tracy Moreland, Policy Advisor in County Administration, will present. There was a memo in your packet. Go ahead, please, Tracy.
Thank you. Good morning, Commissioners. Tracy Moreland from County Administration. Thank you for allowing the time today to provide an update on the Construction Career Pathways Program. We call it C2P2 for short. I provided a memo for you in your packet and several refresher documents. I can just give a really very brief summary of what's in there. So back in 2018, Metro began researching with their regional partners all the different barriers that women and people of color face in the construction trades, and they approached the county about supporting the C2P2 concept and encouraged us to adopt the C2P2 framework. And the intention of the framework is to have a positive impact in reducing those barriers through policy and apprenticeship programs. County staff worked with Metro and Clackamas Workforce Partnership, who you just heard from, to develop a plan which was adopted in 2020, along with a companion resolution. Funding was allocated to CWP to develop and support those apprenticeship programs. And 2 county departments that oversee capital projects were asked to create a work plan for the county that includes the C2P2 framework. Those were DTD and WES, and they were what we're calling pilot departments. WES and DTD looked at establishing a plan based on cost thresholds. They crafted a tiered plan based on project size and cost, and I think there's a matrix in your packet, and I also provided a slide that Tony can put on the monitor. It's the same information, not different information. But it just, if you wanted to quickly look through the different tiers that WES and DTD created, they are Tier 1, which is very small projects costing less than $1 million, not subject to C2P2 framework. Tier 2 includes projects with a construction value of between $1 and $10 million, and they will require the contractor to have a documented harassment prevention plan in place for employees. These are mid-sized projects, and they're actually a lot of what West End DTD is doing right now. And in the matrix, you can see some examples of those projects that have that requirement, and there's much more detail about those individual projects in your packet. Tier 3 includes projects that exceed $10 million, and those are those large projects that have a large number of employees. They take a while to complete. West End DTD will require workforce agreements outlining contractor participation in those harassment prevention strategies and culture changes, also requiring a minimum number of apprentice and journey level women and minority workers employed throughout the project. For DTD and WES, Tier 3 applies only to one project that's pending, and that's the Tri-City Outfall Project. That's $45 million, and right now, that project is in the contracting process, negotiating the scope and fee with the design team. But you could look through your packet to see more details on the costs associated with all of those Tier 2 ones. Also in Tier 3, I listed the county courthouse. That is a separate project, but in addition to the capital projects within WES and DTD, the Fengate Group, their winning proposal included a response to the C2P2 requirements, as well as responses to other diversity requirements in that RFP. And in your packet, I've extracted the pages from that technical proposal from Fengate. So I've highlighted sections that refer to the C2P2 criteria, and it's just worth noting that that group has strategies in place that align with C2P2. They have policies supporting apprenticeships as well as small business subcontractors with minority-owned businesses, women-owned businesses, and veteran-owned small businesses. And Fengate also mentions other important factors related to C2P2, such as how they would monitor data and track their performance. They have a special software program. This is really huge. It's going to help the county understand our successes and where we need improvement on this particular project. Now, I've been corresponding with Gary Barth about this because I know you had questions about the courthouse in particular and apprenticeships for the courthouse. And it's good timing today because yesterday Gary forwarded you a media release from Fengate, and they're talking about being selected for that courthouse replacement project, and they also mentioned C2P2 in that press release. And you know, I'm sure, but it's worth mentioning here that the county will execute a partnership agreement with this contractor, and it's going to incorporate everything that's in this implementation plan too. It's a huge county project, so you know you'll receive updates right along in every phase of that one. Before I stop talking, I do want to mention our workforce board. CWP is the other half of C2P2, and they create the apprenticeship opportunities. The board approved an initial allocation of $50,000 for them to manage and implement support programs for women and people of color interested in becoming apprentices. There was a reallocation of funds just last February, so that's been a total of $100,000 in 2 years for this in particular. There have been 15 participants altogether. Bridget just mentioned right now there's 7. There's 4 men, 3 women, and 5 of the 7 are people of color. These individuals are residents of Clackamas County, and they are gaining the skills they need to find living wage construction jobs, family wage jobs, and this is something they did with your support. We value growing a vibrant economy, and this shows that we are really working that value. Overall, staff are very pleased at how C2P2 is moving forward. We've been working together to develop a strategy for the future that includes other departments and their capital projects, other than WES and DTD, and we'll come to you in the future with those proposed plans. But I hope that this update helps answer some of the questions that you've had recently about our implementation strategy for C2P2, and I know that there's managers from WES and DTD watching if you had questions about their particular capital projects. Thank you so much for
Thank you,
allowing
Tracy,
that. Yeah.
for the very inclusive presentation today. I have a couple of quick questions. The $50,000 allocation, Gary, for 2 years of 100, is that general fund?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. And do we have any, you say the measurables on that, we have 7 people in apprentice programs. in the county. I think that's fantastic. Can you identify which union workforce those come from?
That would be a question for Bridget's team, but I'm pretty sure that we can, yeah.
Okay, I would like that information whenever you get it to me, if you don't have it off the top of your head.
Yeah.
Because apprentice programs are so important, especially in the changing, it's not just workforce, it's the changing job requirements. Everything is so technical, just what we're looking out. And today's requirements for a job are going to be different than tomorrow. In a way, I wish it would slow down a little bit. But, you know, the continued training is really necessary on that. Yes, Fengate did mention in their press release that came out yesterday, 2 times, as a matter of fact, the inclusion of the C2P2. I'm very thankful to that. Now, does that mean, with the courthouse project, the number of apprentices that come in, or journeymen, would increase by 7 to a higher number?
That would be up to the team creating that document, working together to establish what your threshold will be for that project, what you think the county could accommodate, and what our contractors could accommodate.
Okay, we have commissioners who want to speak. I believe it's Commissioner Schrader, Commissioner Fisher, and then Commissioner Savas. Go ahead, Commissioner.
Yeah, thanks for all your work on this, Tracy. This has been a heavy lift, I know. And my understanding that one of the things that is happening in our economic landscape, our economic ecology, is the fact that we do not have enough trained people in the trades. And this is a way for us to get that pipeline going, to get people trained on the job, so we don't have a dearth of folks who can do those kinds of constructions. Is that something that you can comment on, or a reason for it?
Well, I know
Yeah.
Metro started out by doing a study of all the regional partners and why there was so few women and people of color in this particular industry. And so that's what C2P2 aims to address. Is that your question?
Yeah, it
Does that
does, but it's also
yeah.
getting an increase in people who have expertise in the construction trades, and that's kind of,
Yeah.
I think, what the point is across the board.
Right, and the support that CWP provides with our help are the folks who maybe you have to be part of a pre-apprenticeship program,
Right.
and there's barriers to even getting accepted into one of those programs. So that's what these pre-apprenticeship support programs help do, is address those barriers. There's costs associated with it, there's equipment and supplies that are needed, so.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Fisher?
Yeah, Tracy, excellent materials. Really appreciate all the work in putting that together. The piece I'm still a little fuzzy about is when we put something out to bid, say if it's a project for over $10 million, I'm interested in knowing what is our timeline for who we score, our ability to score higher for one receiving our contracts, someone who has apprenticeship programs in place. Where are we with that? Does that make sense? Does my question make sense? I love the $50,000 and getting the materials and all the apprenticeship and building that infrastructure, but there are union and non-union entities that have apprenticeship programs built into their construction business model, and I would really like to see us prioritizing those entities receiving a higher score in getting those contracts. Where are we in that? And that's an internal process that we can incorporate within our procurement, and I'm just interested in knowing where we are with that.
Yep, and that might be a question for one of our WES or DTD managers, or even a finance person, but I do know that C2P2 has the requirements for those, especially over 10 million, like the Tri-City outfall. They're going to be required to have a certain number of apprentices, but there is detail, the minutia of how we determine who gets a higher score of all those applicants. All the applicants are going to be required to do that, right? So if you're asking for the specifics of how those are scored, I can find more out.
Yeah, I just want to know how it works, and I was surprised when I was looking. I assumed that we were doing that C2P2 put into our procurement process apprenticeship as something that was considered in receiving a contract. And so when I was looking at the West contract, I learned that we're still in process and we're not quite there. So I'm interested in a time frame as to when we will be more fully implementing the C2P2 framework for that part. I love the workforce harassment piece that is so well laid out. We've made so much progress. I am so thrilled. But where are our next steps?
Okay.
And Gary, my follow-up question to Commissioner Fisher is, when can we expect to have an answer on full implementation? Not when full implementation will happen, but there's got to be a timeline.
Yes, and Commissioners, you only approved Tier 1 of C2P2. You didn't fully improve every aspect of it, which is why we're going to come back to you with Tier 2 recommendations for you. Everything has an impact, Commissioners. There is an impact to the county to implementing this. All good, of course, but there's an impact on our processes, our staffing. It impacts the type of contractors that may choose to do business with us. There's always impact. So we'll be back to you on the Tier 2 recommendations, probably right after your Labor Day, your August recess.
And I assume that's going to be general fund money?
Most likely, yes.
So Commissioners will have to make a decision on that, and can possibly somebody else do these programs better than us? That would be my question on that, and I believe there is an answer for that. Go ahead.
Oh, yeah, so I'm not expecting it would cost us more to have a scoring criteria for someone receiving a contract. That's just a matter of systemizing what we want from our providers to our county. And along with apprenticeship, there are other things that we should be looking at, like community benefit. When we provide certain supports to different things, what is the community benefit? There's a lens that we need to be looking through with any procurement that we do within the county as to what is the benefit for our community.
Thank you. Commissioner Savas, you're up.
Yeah, so Gary, am I to assume that Tier 1's implemented, but Tier 3 is the courthouse? You mentioned Tier 2, so Tier 3 is not included as of this date?
That is correct. Right, Tracy? That's correct?
Sorry,
Tell me,
Tier
Tracy.
1 are very small projects, and we don't ask our contractors to comply with C2P2 framework. Those are very minor projects, and it's just not feasible financially for either the county or contractors to do that. Tier 2 are the mid-sized projects that are happening right now in our 2 pilot departments. And then mid-3 are the large ones, which we still haven't done a large one, but we're about to do the Tri-City outfall.
Right, so I'm
Yeah.
just a little confused because as I read Tier 1, you know, it's under $1 million, so therefore we don't implement anything. So when we say we're implementing Tier 1, which Tier 1's defined as really not implementing anything at all.
I think Gary meant to say Tier 2.
I'm sorry, I shouldn't use tier altogether. When you approved C2P2, there was a whole suite of options you could have approved. You did not accept every option for C2P2. We're doing a pilot. You approved a pilot with 2 departments, WES and DTD. That is what we're implementing. There's many more things you can implement. We have not brought you for your direction yet. That's what I mean. Phase 2 is the term I should have used. We'll come back to you after the recess on what you'd like to use. Procurement, yes. For the DTD and WES, that's done. But for a county-wide effort, that's a little bit more, and we need your direction to authorize that. I'll come back to you. That's what I meant to say.
Okay, so my follow-up, well, actually, my original question was, prior to that conversation, was, is there anything in the Tier 2, as you displayed, Tracy, and you don't have to answer today, right now. This might be a complex one, but I'd like to know what is, if there's any redundancy in what we're doing with Tier 2 with federal requirements? And if so, how can we streamline that so that people are bidding, they're not doing extra work for no benefit, but still promoting the highlights, if you will, or the goals of C2P2. But you can get back to me offline. Thank you.
I will, thank you.
Is that it?
Thank you.
And my question going forward to the policy session that, Gary, that we're going to have after Labor Day, again, is there other entities out there that can do this beside county government where we have to use general fund monies? That's a very important question. And it goes to we're contracting out for a lot of these jobs, obviously, and wages are paid, premium wages are paid, so we're under that guidelines. So with that in mind, what's that called? premium wages are paid? Prevailing wage.
Prevailing wage.
I could not think of the term, thank you. Prevailing wage is paid. So when prevailing wage kicks in, I need to know, when that happens, is it assumed that all of these laws kick into place, that we'll have apprenticeships, that a certain amount of union labor is employed? So I think the board needs to really understand how that works, because, like Paul says, we don't want to have to duplicate not only our efforts here and using precious general fund money for, but we don't want the contractors to have to duplicate efforts just because we have this ambitious program going forward. So if you could track down that too.
Yes.
Thank you very much. Any other questions, comments from commissioners? Gary, do you have anything you'd like to add?
No, this is just an update. Thank you, Tracy, for your leadership of this, and we'll be back to you after Labor Day in September with next
Thank you,
steps.
Tracy. It's a very good presentation today. Gary, what's up next?
All right, if we could now go back to the start of our original agenda, and Chair, would you convene as the Housing Authority of Clackamas County, please?
I will now recess as the Board of County Commissioners and convene as the Housing Authority of Clackamas County.
All right, these are Housing Commissioner Ann Leenstra here. Tony?
Commissioner Lindstrom is present.
All right, and can welcome Commissioner Leenstra. All right, these are requests for consent agenda for the Housing Authority of Clackamas County. Item 1, approval of an intergovernmental agreement with Clackamas County for the rehabilitation of the Jansen Road Apartments in Clackamas, Oregon. The agreement value is $294,000. $245,000 of funding is through Community Development Block Grant funds, and the balance is through Housing Authority local project funds. No county general funds are involved. Rod Cook, Director of Health, Housing, Human Services. Tony Carter, Interim Director of the Housing Authority. Go ahead, please.
This is the modernization of Jansen Road, which is a 9-unit affordable housing complex owned by the Housing Authority. It's all 2-bedroom units in a garden-style setting built in 1978. The property is in need of some age-related repairs. It needs new siding, painting, new exterior doors, and new windows. The Housing Authority is contributing roughly $49,000 in unrestricted local project funds, and there's no county general funds involved.
Thank you, Tony. Any questions or comments?
Yeah, it's just one. On these addresses, are these duplexes for each address, or is each address a living unit?
Each address is a living unit, an apartment, 2-bedroom.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Seeing no objections, go ahead.
Item 2, approval of moving to work plan and application and adoption of Resolution 1968, authorizing submission of the plan and application to the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development, and authorizing the Executive Director of the Housing Authority to sign an amendment to the annual contribution contract and implement the program. No fiscal impact, no county general funds are involved.
The Housing Authority had the Moving to Work public hearing on July 28th, and we've had the Moving to Work plan out for public comment since July 13th, and there have been no concerns raised. So we'll be seeking approval to submit to HUD by July 28th, which is the deadline.
Questions or comments? Yes, Commissioner Scholl.
Yeah, good morning. Some questions have come up on this. If the recipients of the savings account component cannot pay full rent at this time, what is being done to help them increase their ability to earn more and pay their own way when and if they go out on their own and purchase their own home?
So the program works that if the client signs up for the Family Self-Sufficiency Program, they'll work towards education and employment. And as they increase their earnings in employment, their level of rent goes up, and we match it with that escrow balance. So if their rent portion goes up by $150, we put in $150 into the escrow balance. So it's a simultaneous goal of increasing their working income and putting it towards a savings account. The goal is actually to graduate them off assistance, get them to the point where they're paying 100% of their rent, and then we're matching that in the escrow so that they can buy a house and move off the program.
And do you monitor their ability to increase their income and complete education?
Correct.
You do? Okay, thank you.
Any objections to this moving forward? Seeing none. Ann Leenstra, I will entertain a motion.
No motions necessary, Chair.
Oh, thank you.
Just to go to
None?
this Thursday's business meeting.
Okay, Ann, I guess you don't have to make a motion.
All right, thank you.
No comments from you today?
No, I'm good with it. Let's go forward.
Thank you. So, thank you very much for coming forward. Thank you, Ann, for showing up today. Gary, what's next?
Next, Chair, would you convene as the North Clackamas Parks and Recreation District Board?
I will recess as the Housing Authority of Clackamas County and convene as the North Clackamas Parks and Recreation District. Gary.
Next, our request for consent agenda for the North Clackamas Parks and Recreation District. Item 1, approval of a sub-recipient amendment number 2, extending the duration, increasing funding, modifying the scope of work, and adjusting budgeting of federal sub-recipient agreement with Clackamas County to provide client services, COVID support, nutrition services, respite care, energy assistance, and transportation services to eligible individuals. The amendment value is $436,013. For a total grant value now of $889,637. Funding is through the U.S. Administration for Community Living, the Oregon Department of Human Services, Ride Connection, and Low Income Home Energy Assistance Program. No county general funds are involved. Mike Borker is the Director of North Clackamas Parks and Recreation District. Candy Ho is an important manager in NCPRD. I'm sorry, what manager are you, Candy? Recreation Services Manager. Thank you. Go ahead, please.
And I would defer to Candy if there's any questions about this grant agreement.
Commissioners, do we have any questions or comments regarding this particular item?
Yeah, I just do have one. I mean, it just seems a little odd that, back up to the page here where I read that, where it speaks to, I mean, the nutrition, I'm fine with that. Where is it at here? I lost it. But energy assistance and transportation services, I mean, for a parks district. So is that in the model of the community center, or how is that fold into, I know we do a lot of food assistance and so forth out of the community center, so I'm just trying to understand how that becomes into the park district when it comes to energy assistance. It's probably been there before, years, right?
I was going to say, currently we do have social services style staff in the Parks District that do assist with connection for those in the community that need those services. Typically, we do have nutrition and transportation that we are providing, as well as services and respite at the Milwaukee Community Center.
Okay. So there is a relationship between Health and Human Service, Health, Housing, and Human Services in that regard? Okay.
We work closely and definitely defer and provide some of those, mostly connection services for those outer social services.
Okay, so it's more of a funding stream to that service then?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Any objections to seeing this going forward? Nope.
Item 2, approval of Boardman property name recommendation from the District Advisory Committee. Fiscal impact is $200 for signage. Funding is through budgeted NCPRD general funds. No county general funds are involved.
And just to reiterate that, on July 13th, the District Advisory Committee met and unanimously chose as their first choice the Boardman Wetlands Nature Park as the recommended name, and that is what staff recommends as well.
Any questions or comments? Seeing none, seeing no objections. Thank you very much for coming forward.
Thank you.
Thank you. Chair, would you now convene as the Development Agency Board?
I will now recess as the North Clackamas Parks and Recreation District and convene as the Development Agency.
Next is request for consent agenda for the Development Agency. Item 1, approval of an intergovernmental agreement with Clackamas River Water for the Linwood Avenue Improvement Project. Agreement value is $163,780. Funding through the Clackamas River Water. No county general funds are involved. Dan Jansen, Director of Transportation and Development. Go ahead.
Thank you so much. Good morning, Chair Smith and Commissioners. We are going to do an improvement to Linwood. There are utilities in Linwood. We notify our utility providers when we do road projects. They have 2 courses of action, generally taking care of those utilities on their own should they like to see them improved or adjusted, or 2, we do offer in some instances an opportunity to partner where they can use our design professionals and our construction dollars on a reimbursement basis to improve those utilities that are in the road right away. The agreement before you today is essentially a request from Clackamas River Water to use our design professional on this particular project. I think the design amount is approximately $15,780, and then also estimated construction improvements are in the neighborhood of $148,000. The development agency would cover these costs up front, and they would be reimbursed upon the billings that are completed. We would bill the water district for reimbursement of those dollars. So we are made whole through this exercise.
Great, great. Any questions or comments? Any objections going forward? Seeing none? Gary?
Thank you. Chair, would you now convene as the Board of County Commissioners?
I will now recess as a development agency and convene as a Board of County Commissioners.
All right, these are now requests for consent agenda. Sorry, Dan, you can go back. Sorry. Request for consent agenda under the Board of County Commissioners, starting with elected officials, which is the Sheriff's Office. Item 1, approval of an amendment extending the duration and increasing reimbursable amounts for the intergovernmental agreement with the Oregon Department of Transportation for snow park parking permit enforcement by the Clackamas County Sheriff's Office. The amendment value is $1,530 per fiscal year. Total reimbursement now not to exceed $8,280 per fiscal year. Funding is through the Oregon Department of Transportation. No county general funds are involved. Captain Brad O'Neill from the Sheriff's Office. Go ahead, please.
Thank you. Good morning, Chair Smith, Commissioners, and County Administrator Schmidt. He apparently just said everything I was about to say, so I'll try and make it quick. The Sheriff's Office seeks your approval to amend the intergovernmental agreement between Clackamas County Sheriff's Office and the Oregon Department of Transportation related to the snow park parking permit enforcement. This agreement furthers the Board of County Commissioners' strategic priority to ensure safe, healthy, and secure communities. The total agreement is not to exceed $8,280 for fiscal year 22-23 and fiscal year 23-24. The total increase of this agreement is $1,530 per fiscal year. The enforcement of these permits on Mount Hood include various sites such as Timberline Lodge, Ski Bowl, Government Camp, Trillium Lake, and Snow Bunny, which are all within Clackamas County. This funding is through the Oregon Department of Transportation. No county general funds are involved. The Sheriff's Office appreciates your consideration of this request, and I'm happy to answer any questions at this time.
Questions or comments for the presenter? Seeing none and seeing no objections. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Next, disaster management. Item 1, approval of an intergovernmental agreement with the Oregon Emergency Management for the Upper Sandy River Flood Warning System Upgrade Project. Total value is $94,408. 75% of funding is through the FEMA Hazard Mitigation Grant Program, and 25% is through budgeted county general funds. Jamie Poole and Jay Wilson are from Disaster Management. Go ahead, please.
Yep. Good morning, Commissioners. So this project is to upgrade a flood system on the Upper Sandy River. So in 2013, that system was put in using solar power and radio connection to submit the flood information to us electronically. That system is kind of spotty because of the terrain up there, as well as during the winter months when snow gets on the solar panels, it blocks the signal, or it stops from charging. So this project is to enhance that system. It will be able to put dedicated power and fiber to that panel there, so that we can get a constant feed of information from the flood gauge. Of course, Administrator Schmidt had mentioned the cost, so we have the 25% cost match budgeted in our department funds, and then we also have the ongoing monthly service fee budgeted as well.
So you're converting from solar to electricity, correct? Thank you. Any other questions, Commissioners? Yes, Mark?
Is this flood warning system coordinated with the emergency alert system?
No, it's not. It is a standalone system. It actually will show us on a flood gauge or a hydro.
Well, we do have dedicated placement with the National Weather Service on their hydrologic monitoring data that the public can view. And so the notifications that come from these sensors are publicly available, which in turn we can send out the public alerts based on any flood warnings.
Okay.
Yeah, and the Weather Service would consume that to issue any flood warnings as well.
Thank you, Commissioner Scholl. Any further discussion on this item?
Just one question. How do we know when there's channel migration, which is really the bigger issue so much as it is floods? Is it a certain velocity or a height or both?
Following the 2011 flood event, we realized that the river doesn't have to get bank full, the Sandy River, in order to start taking the banks away. And so these gauges are a way for us to monitor the stream level and establish baselines for areas where we've never monitored the river before. The only river gauge we have for this area is 10 miles downstream. So this allows us to have gauges on the Sandy, the Zigzag, and the Salmon Rivers upstream of where that gauge is to give people who live in those areas a way to monitor them. And so this helps us establish a baseline to say, well, if the river gets up close to what it did in 2011, there's a high likelihood we'll have erosion somewhere. Plus, they're mounted on county-owned bridges, so the roads can monitor the river levels at those bridges, where we did have undercutting on the Zigzag Bridge, and it was closed for months. So it's a twofold benefit.
Thank you.
Great. Seeing no objections to this moving forward, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next, Resolution Services, Item 1, approval of a grant amendment with University of Oregon Office for Community Dispute Resolution, adding funding for an eviction mediation demonstration project. Total value is $509,711. Funding is through June 30, 2023. No county general funds are involved. Amy Herman is the Interim Director of Resolution Services. Go ahead, please, Amy.
Thank you, Gary. Thank you, Commissioners. I just want to point out that this, the amount of this amendment includes the base grant that's already been approved by you and that is in place. And the base grant is $117,322. So the amendment would add the $392,389 on top of that. And this is to specifically provide mediation services upstream from the court process. So it's pre-eviction filing mediation that gives the opportunity for people to have a conversation around how to maintain housing or to have a graceful exit out of a housing situation so that people aren't going to end up with an eviction on their record, which makes it more difficult for people to become rehoused.
Okay, thank you. Questions or comments? Commissioner Scholl?
Ma'am, is this program to assist residents of Clackamas County alone?
Yes, it's within our own county boundary.
Okay.
Seeing no objections to this moving forward, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next, Transportation and Development, Item 1, approval of a personal services contract with LRS Architects for design services for the Clackamas County Fairground and Event Center multi-use building, and addendum assigning responsibility for the contract to the Clackamas County Fair Board. Contract not to exceed $439,714. Funding is through the Fair Board's State American Recovery Plan Act allocations. They came from the state of Oregon, not Clackamas County. No county general funds are involved. No county ARPA dollars are involved. Dan Johnson, go ahead.
Thank you so much. You're very familiar with this project. Essentially, we are here to get the board's authorization to do two things, one of which is to approve the contract with LRS. Essentially, that was advertised in accordance with ORS and LCRB rules on December 9th, 2019. Proposals were opened on April 13th, 2022. There were two proposers. An evaluation committee of 5 members scored LRS Incorporated as highest and confirmed their capabilities of performance. Upon contract award, the final statement of work was negotiated and finalized. That's before you today. Second is it's a document assigning this contract to the Fair Board. It's essentially establishing clearer lines of responsibility between their responsibility for this contract versus our responsibility for this contract. It was a request of the county council that we affix this assignment with this contract for the board's approval. And I'd be happy to answer any questions, though please don't ask me any technical questions because I'm not Sarah Ekman. So.
Thank you, Dan, for that. Gary, who signs this contract?
So you will sign it as chair, but then we're giving it to the Fair Board that they will then manage this project after you assign it to them.
And as a liaison to the Fair Board, I think they're working quite well. Dan Sandberg is their fair designee working with facilities on this, and they're coordinating very well.
Correct. And I'd love to clarify for the board's, just as a clarifying point, the assignment agreement is a 3-party agreement. It's the consultant who has already signed it. It is the Fair Board who have already signed it. You would be the last entity to sign that assignment, just for clarification purposes.
Thank you very much. Commissioner Scholl?
Dan, will this contract give us working drawings for the new barn?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, I can't wait to see those. When do you expect completion?
See, I told you those kind of
All right.
questions. I'm not
You know
Sarah
what?
Edwin.
I'm just really anxious for this project.
I have not
I know, you know
directly looked at
what?
it,
Somebody
so
else can
we'll
do that.
follow up with you,
Thank
yep.
you, Dan. I appreciate you coming forward. See no objections to this moving forward.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next, County Administration. Item 1, approval of an amendment to the contract with WT Partnership for P3 Technical Advisory Services related to the Clackamas County Courthouse project. The amendment value is $2,009,700. Total contract value is now $4,598,325. Funding is 50% through the State of Oregon Courthouse Construction and Improvement Fund, and 50% is county budgeted county general funds. Gary Barth is the Courthouse Project Manager for County Administration. Go ahead, Gary.
Good morning, Commissioners. Nice to see you all this morning. I'm here, this is I think our final amendment to our P3 professional consultant contracts. We have 3 consultants, as you know. Rebel has been our financial and transactional consultants. Hawkins, Delafield, and Wood has been our legal consultants. And WT Partnerships has had a very critical role as being our technical consultants through all of the design and construction and technical requirements of the project. When we hit financial and commercial close at the end of August, Hawkins and Rebel will essentially be closing out their scope of work. They will have completed most of their effort. WT will continue on during the final design and construction phase through project completion and serve in the capacity as owner's rep, if you will, and project manager, working directly with Fingate, FP3, and the State of Oregon's Oregon Judicial Department State Project Monitor to ensure that the project is designed and completed in accordance with the project agreement that'll be executed at commercial close. So they'll be the boots on the ground, the WT team. Right now, we're working through finalizing all of the technical requirements before we get to financial close. We're finalizing all the legal agreements. So we're completing a significant amount of effort now over the next 3 weeks to get us to financial and commercial close. And then we move into the real work, where we'll start doing the enabling work of the site prep and meeting with the City of Oregon City to get our land use permits and our construction documents underway. So WT is an integral part of that. So these amendments have been kind of pending board direction of next steps. And so every step of the phase, when we were authorized by the board to move to the next step, then we did the amendment. And this is the final amendment now that you've authorized us to move forward with the construction of the project. This is in the budget. It spans multiple fiscal years from now until project completion. So it's in the current adopted budget, and it is in the general fund forecast for the 2 years after that. It'll all go into the courthouse capital construction fund, be capitalized, and eligible for the 50% reimbursement from the state.
Thank you, Gary. When will we have final drawings on this?
We're shooting for early to mid 2023 for final construction designs and permits. We're almost 100% schematic and about 30% construction design and development. We've got 4 check-in points to get to 100% construction dock completion. So we're not going to be doing any change orders. We're trying to stay within the parameters of the costs that have been approved. Now we're getting into the refinement and the tweaking. We're meeting with the judicial staff. We're meeting with the sheriff. We're doing all the final tweaking and adjustments before we lock it down and go to construction docks.
And will you be meeting with the BCC equally?
Yes.
Thank you. Any further questions? Commissioner Scholl?
Mr. Barth, just to clarify, this $2,009,700, this is already embedded in the $313 million estimate. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay.
Thank you for clarifying.
So, Chair?
Yes, Commissioner Savas.
Yeah, my question, so, on the surface here, it looks like it's a doubling of it, but is that, now that I hear you speak to this, am I assuming correctly that the $2.5 million has been expended thus far?
Correct.
So this is just another phase?
Another phase, correct.
Okay, so how is that responsibility clearly articulated? I'm looking at the material. It just seems to me that maybe it would warrant not an amendment, but an entirely new contract.
We already had, the contract anticipated all of these phases if we got board approval to move all the way through project completion. So the existing contract already runs through 2025 and already includes these anticipated phases. We just didn't have board approval for this expenditure of this phase in the event that you had not authorized us to move forward with construction. Had we stopped at the end of procurement, had you not awarded the contract to Fingate, then we would have terminated WT's contract at the completion of the phase they just completed.
All right, thank you.
Thank you. Seeing no objections to this moving forward, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Finally, Health, Housing, Human Services. There are 20 items. We'll go as quick as we can. Item 1, approval of a personal services contract with Bridges to Change for temporary housing of mental health and substance abuse clients. Contract value not to exceed $499,380 over 23 months. Funding through the Health Center's program income, as well as the Criminal Justice Commission grant. No county general funds are involved. Rod Cook, Director of Health, Housing, Human Services. Go ahead.
Yes, this contract, the purpose of it, this agreement is to provide temporary housing for clients with mental health and substance use disorders.
Commissioner Schrader, you're now chair. Would you mind chairing the meeting?
Any questions, commissioners? The light is over there, but that's okay. So raise your hand. Okay. All right, let's move on.
Okay, item 2, approval of a sub-recipient amendment extending the duration and increasing funding of a federal sub-recipient agreement with Senior Citizens Council of Clackamas County for the provision of guardianship conservatorship, guardianship diversion, and case management services to eligible Clackamas County residents. The amendment value is $163,350. Total grant value now increased to $324,134 over 2 years. Funding is through the U.S. Administration for Community Living, Oregon Department of Human Services, and budgeted county general funds.
Administrator basically said everything. I have nothing to add to that one.
Any questions, commissioners? No? All right, let's move on.
Item 3, approval of a sub-recipient amendment extending the duration, increasing funding, and modifying the scope of work of a federal sub-recipient agreement with the Friends of Camby Adult Center for the provision of meals, health promotion activities, transportation, and referral services to eligible Clackamas County residents. The amendment value is $285,048. Total grant value is increased to $554,740 over 2 years. Funding is through the U.S. Administration for Community Living, Oregon Department of Human Services, Ride Connection, and Low-Income Home Energy Assistance Program funds. No county general funds are involved.
Yes, and the next few of these will be the same, so I'll just say that these services link residents with resources to meet their individual needs. This helps them to remain independent and active in the community. And you'll see about 4 of these about the same.
Okay. Yes.
Vice Chair Schrader, can we just move over those and not have to have Gary read everything since they're all
I will read, yeah, okay, yes. Let me say the names though. So you just heard Friends of Camby Adult Center. The next one is for the Foothills Community Church on behalf of the Malala Adult Community Center. That amount is adding $162,202 to a total grant of $350,086 over 2 years. Next is for the City of Oregon City on behalf of the Pioneer Community Center, which adds amendment of $174,586 for a total grant now of $362,818 over 2 years. Next is for the Friends of Estacada Community Center, which has the amendment of $152,152 to increase total grant amount to $316,052 over 2 years. Next is to the North Clackamas Parks and Recreation District on behalf of the Milwaukee Center. Yeah, same thing, adding $463,013 to a total grant now of $889,637 over 2 years. Keep going, right, Rod? City of Wilsonville on behalf of the Wilsonville Community Center, adding $121,320 for a total grant now of $249,730 over 2 years. Next, for the City of Gladstone on behalf of the Gladstone Senior Center, adding $62,435 for a total grant value of $128,493 over 2 years, and that is that section.
Yes.
Right, any questions, commissioners?
I got a question.
No,
I'm sorry, go ahead.
oh, it was just a comment. We do a lot all around this county. It's pretty amazing.
Okay. Commissioner Schell.
Yeah, Mr. Cook, are these grant amounts done based on population or need? How do you come up with the varying amounts for these different communities?
I happen to have an expert in the back, Teresa, and while she's coming up, it's basically competitive, and I'm sure the answer is going to be population-based, but we'll have Teresa, Christopherson, who's from the office.
Good morning. Am I on?
Yes.
Okay. So the amounts that are given to these communities are determined on a variety of factors, including population, the percentage of seniors who live in those communities, and also service numbers. The community centers and senior centers are utilized at different rates within communities, and so we work very, very closely with them to make sure that they receive sufficient funding to match the services that they're delivering in those communities.
Okay, thank you.
Just to build on Commissioner Scholl's question, how much is income level or poverty or census tract numbers relate to that? Is that part of the eligibility of those funds?
So these funds have the eligibility for these particular funds basically is age and disability related. There's no requirement for Older Americans Act funds relating to poverty or income level. With that being said, clearly these services are highly utilized by folks who are low income, and we do take that into account as we work with the seniors. We have a very close partnership with the senior centers and with the communities that they are in, and we work with them very, very closely to do a comprehensive needs assessment in those communities and to make sure that those dollars are allocated equitably.
So in a community like Westland, for example, with completely different demographics than then at Gladstone, they would receive basically for the same amount of money based on that, not the money, but based on that criteria, other criteria, but not income, not the poverty issues.
No. Again, these dollars are not poverty-based. We can't base the distribution of dollars necessarily on income, but we do, again, look at that as a factor when we're working with the centers to make sure that they have the funding they need to continue operating and providing services in their communities.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
You might stay for the.
Any other comments or questions? Seeing any objections? No?
Okay, so we have gone through the first 9 items. We're now on item 10 for H3S, approval of an amendment to the agreement for services with Community and Shelter Assistance of Oregon to sign up qualifying low-income clients for individual development accounts for the period April 1, 2021 through March 31, 2022. The amendment value is $40,680. The total agreement value is now $91,530 for 1 year. Funding is through Community and Shelter Assistance of Oregon. No county general funds are involved.
Yes, and just a little bit, clients with IDAs, that's an individual development account, save money each month and receive matching funds deposited into their saving accounts direct from the CASA account.
Questions or comments?
I got a question. Mr. Cook, in your document here, Article 7, Amendment to the Reservation of Matching Funds 2021, it says, partner will be awarded $81,000 in matching funds to be distributed in accordance with this agreement. What's a partner?
In this particular case, the partner is essentially us. We don't receive that money directly. Those matching funds are the funds that are deposited into the client's accounts, so they never pass through the county coffers. But basically, it's an award to the eligible residents of Clackamas County for those funds to be available to provide those matching funds for the individual development accounts.
Okay. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Seeing any objections? No? Go ahead.
Okay. Item 11, approval of an agreement for services with Community and Shelter Assistance of Oregon to sign up qualifying low-income clients for individual development accounts for the period of April 1, 2022 to March 31, 2023. Agreement value is $74,580 for 1 year. Funding is through Community and Shelter Assistance of Oregon. No county general funds are involved.
This one's the same as the previous one we just discussed.
Questions or comments? No objections?
Item 12, approval of a personal services contract with NSoftTech for the design and implementation of a new behavioral health electronic health record system. Contract value is not to exceed $643,474 over 5 years. Funding is through Behavioral Health Fund Balance. No county general funds are involved.
Yes, the county received 10 proposals in response to this RFP. After review of the proposals, contracting with InSoftTech, Inc. was determined to be the best interest of the county based upon the scoring criteria outlined in the RFP.
Questions or comments? Seeing no objections.
Item 13, approval of a local sub-recipient grant agreement with Lifeworks Northwest to provide evidence-based parenting education classes. Grant value is $8,008 for 11 months. Funding is through Oregon State University grant funds. No county general funds are involved.
As mentioned, these will provide evidence-based Spanish and English parent education class series to parents of young children living in Clackamas County.
Questions or comments? Seeing no objections.
Okay, the next three are for the exact same purpose. I'll just read the names and the amounts. So the next is for Clackamas Women's Services for a grant value of $26,783 for 11 months. Next is for Gladstone School District for a total grant value of, or the value remains at $23,200. The amendment has no fiscal impact. Next, item 16, same Oregon City School District. Agreement value, $10,000 for 11 months. All three of these are for the parenting education classes.
Questions or comments, commissioners? Seeing no objections.
All right, item 17 now, approval of an intergovernmental agreement with the Housing Authority of Clackamas County for the rehabilitation of the Jansen Road Apartments in Clackamas, Oregon. The agreement value is $294,000. $245,000 of funding is through Community Development Block Grant funds, and the balance is through the Housing Authority local project funds. No county general funds are involved.
Yes, this will sound real familiar to the HAC first item. This is just the funding of that project.
Questions or comments? Seeing no objections.
All right, I'm jumping ahead to item 19. Item 19, approval to apply for infrastructure grant for improving provider capacity with the Oregon Department of Human Services. The grant value is $586,901. Funding is through the Oregon Department of Human Services. No county general funds are involved.
Yes, these funds are intended to use as a local level to develop infrastructure to build capacity, improve provider retention and recruitment, and community involvement.
Questions or comments? Commissioner Scholl?
Mr. Cook, your document says that the funding comes from ARPA dollars. Is that state ARPA dollars? Not county ARPA dollars.
Go ahead.
So these are ARPA dollars that have been awarded to the state of Oregon and are currently being distributed via grants to counties and other local organizations. So these are not the county's ARPA dollars. These are ARPA dollars that have come to the state.
And this is going to provide capacity to, this capacity building, how is it going to help the people of Clackamas County?
So one of the issues that we struggle with is keeping our capacity for providers of different kinds of services for our developmentally disabled citizens. This grant is to particularly focus in on how we can build capacity, recruit new providers, provide training and education, and also hopefully address some issues around being able to provide culturally specific services so that we're able to increase our capacity in this area and continue to provide services for these vulnerable residents.
Okay, thank you.
Questions or comments? Seeing no objections, thank you.
All right, Commissioners, item 18 and item 20 are for the same purpose. I'll read them. They're for cooling centers. So I'm going to ask if you would be willing to bypass our process and actually vote to approve those here today so we can execute the contracts today so we can open these cooling centers tonight. So I'm sorry for that late notice, but we want to be nimble and flexible here.
Are we going to vote on each one separately?
Yes, let's do them separately, please.
I mean, it's up to you, Gary.
They
whatever
both, you
process
can do them
is.
together or separately, either
Okay,
way
why
is
don't you
fine.
read them, and then after you read them, we will vote on each one, and then you can proceed to the next one.
Very good.
Thank you.
All right, item 19, again, seeking your vote now, Commissioners, approval of a non-federal sub-recipient grant agreement with the Father's Heart Street Ministry for extreme weather and smoke shelter services. Grant value is $98,136 for 1 year. Funding is through the Oregon Department of Housing and Community Services and includes budgeted county general funds. Rod, do you have anything to add on this?
No, there's about $9,464 budgeted for county general fund, so I guess it.
And this is response to our upcoming hotter weather, and they'll be used for cooling centers, correct?
Yes.
Any objections to this moving forward? If not, I will entertain a motion.
I move for approval.
Second.
Thank you. Commissioner Savas has moved for approval of this grant for Father's Heart Ministry. Commissioner Fisher has seconded that motion. Any further comments? Tony, please call the poll.
Commissioner Schull,
Aye.
Commissioner Fisher,
Aye.
Commissioner Schrader,
Aye.
Commissioner Savas,
Aye.
Chair Smith.
Aye, motion passes 5-0. Thank you.
Thank you.
Gary.
Next item, item 20, approval of a non-federal sub-recipient grant agreement with Malala Hope Incorporated for extreme weather and smoke shelter services. Total contract value is $50,940. Funding is through the State of Oregon Department of Housing and Community Services and budgeted county general funds. Rod.
Yes, and the county amount is $4,644.
And this is also to be used for a cooling session, shelter, which could be urgent. Any questions or comments, commissioners? I'll entertain a motion.
I move for approval.
Second.
Commissioner Savas has moved approval for funding for the Malala Hope Center, and Commissioner Schrader has seconded that motion. Any further discussions? Seeing none, Tony, please take the poll.
Commissioner Fisher,
Aye.
Commissioner Schull,
Aye.
Commissioner Savas,
Aye.
Commissioner Schrader,
Aye.
Chair Smith.
Aye, motion passes 5-0. Thank you very much.
Okay,
Gary.
Rod, go ahead.
And I have Teresa here. Can we give you updates since you just added to the inventory for tonight's heat emergency? We can give you an update on where we're at as a county. Is that, if that's okay?
Yes, go ahead.
Okay. So first of all, I'm very pleased to report that we have at least 25 different organizations who are opening daytime cooling shelters, including the Father's Heart and Malala Hope sites. We are continuing to keep a current and updated list on the website, including updated hours as those change. Thank you very much to all of our partners who have done such a great job with that. We are opening 2 overnight shelters. One will be at the Father's Heart in Oregon City, and one will be at the Malala Hope site. Information about those will be posted on the website today, and we will be working with community partners and others to provide additional volunteer assistance to those sites. We are also working with our partners to identify vulnerable households that may need temporary placement in hotel shelters. We are providing additional water and other supplies to our homeless outreach experts so that they're able to work with those populations to provide them with needed supplies as well as get them to cooling sites as needed. And finally, transportation, of course, is always a key issue. TriMet has agreed to provide fare-free rides for folks throughout the Tri-County area who are seeking access to a cooling shelter. We will also be posting a list online of the different public transit resources, including our other small transit providers and the Clackamas Connect shuttle. Those are available resources for folks if they need assistance with finding transportation. They can also call 211. So we're working with all these different partners right now, and everybody's really pulling together to make this happen.
I think it's very important that you reminded us that they can call 211. That's very important. Commissioner Fisher?
Yeah, I'm just curious about those. We do have people in more remote areas that may be known to us through our providers, but are sheltered outside. And I'm just curious if what kind of outreach are we doing for those folks?
Yeah, many of our providers are actually going out and seeking out folks, and again, providing them with water, providing them with other supplies, and offering them opportunities to come to cooling centers. So we're really working hard. Many of the folks who are unsheltered are connected in some way, shape, or form with a local service provider or with someone else in their community. So that's part of our efforts as we're sending this information out through our network of providers to make sure that everybody knows what resources are available, where people can go, and what different kinds of services we can give them to help them through this difficult time. I also want to really clearly state that these services are not just available to folks who are unhoused. They are also available to folks who are in housing who don't have air conditioners or otherwise are really, really struggling with the hot weather. So, that's another thing too, as we talk to our providers, if we have folks who really need shelter, cooling shelter, even though they're in an apartment or some other kind of housing, we want them to know that this resource is available to them.
Thank you. Commissioner
Schrader, and that was exactly my question, that you will be going to, particularly I worry about elderly folks who may be living in small apartments and/or trailer parks that may not have the opportunity for air conditioning. So how do you manage that? Do you go door to door? You just talk to your providers, or I mean, how do you really get to those folks? Yeah.
In the local communities, again, there's a lot of knowledge about those folks and where they are. And so, we're reaching out, we're talking to people, working through our networks of providers to make sure, and a really good example of that is the senior centers. The senior centers are very, very much aware of the folks that they provide home-delivered meals to, that are disabled, that are living possibly in housing situations that may not give them safety during the current heat crisis. So we communicate with those partners and make sure they know what resources are available, and they will reach out to folks and try to bring them in or help them as needed.
And Commissioner, we're also being asked as individuals to, if you have any neighbors that you know about, to go to their house yourselves and just do a safety check on them for the next few days.
Okay. Commissioner Fisher?
Yeah, just one little thought. I'm not sure if we're doing this with this heat emergency, but I know last year there's some, Commissioner Schrader spurred this question. There are some organizations that are involved with mobile home parks that what might be good also to put on our list if we haven't already done so, to reach out to, just to do it in the aggregate. Because those folks that are living in those areas, and when I was a new commissioner, Commissioner Savas took me all around unincorporated Clackamas County to where a lot of those folks are living. So we have quite a few in Clackamas County.
Yeah.
I'll verify, we do have some pretty comprehensive contact lists, but I'll work with the housing folks and with our social
Some have air
services.
conditioning, but a good many don't, so that's what we need to look at.
Thank you for that.
Thank you so much for your vote today.
You betcha. Take care.
Thank you. So Commissioners, all these items will go on this Thursday's business meeting consent agenda that you discussed today. With that, review of your business meeting agenda this Thursday, July 28th, 2022. You'll have a public hearing for the North Clackamas Parks and Recreation District, which is a second reading to change the ordinance that gives authority over fees and fines to the board, not to me, District Administrator. Secondly, have a county public hearing, second reading of the ordinance, which will be a temporary ban on
Psilocybin.
Thank you. Psilocybin for 2 years. That will be your second reading this Thursday. And then the consent agenda we just discussed. If you have any questions on any item, please let me know prior to Thursday. Next, advisory board and commission appointments. Tony, go ahead.
The Library District Advisory Committee has one appointment requested. The City of Wilsonville has requested the appointment of a new member to the Library District Advisory Committee. That member is Natalie McNown.
So move.
Second.
I do have a question. There's no expiration date on her term.
As I understand from the Library District Advisory Committee, their terms do not expire. They serve at the pleasure of the cities named in the
So this is a
cooperative agreement.
city appointment, but because we're the district, we have to do it.
That is correct, Madam Chair.
Thank you very much. Commissioner Fisher, do you have a question?
No.
Oh, okay. A motion has been made by Commissioner Schrader to approve this appointment and seconded by Commissioner Fisher. Any further questions or comments? Tony, please take the poll.
Commissioner Schrader?
Aye.
Commissioner Fisher?
Aye.
Commissioner Savas?
Aye.
Commissioner Schull?
Aye.
Chair Smith?
Aye, motion passes 5-0. Thank you very much.
Final item today is Commissioner Communications. You are meeting tomorrow at issues, so you could carry this over till tomorrow if you wished, or you could go today. Your choice, Chair.
Commissioners, I'm going to give you each an opportunity to make your own decision on that.
I think tomorrow's fine with me.
Commissioner Savas?
Yeah, I'm just going to briefly
Go ahead.
just touch on something today and then something tomorrow, only because this one's almost 2 weeks now. A couple Saturdays ago, the Trolley Trail Festival was in place. Huge attendance. It really expanded a number of booths. I was there in my capacity as a county commissioner, and it was almost nonstop. Just crowds of people coming through. I just wanted to share a few things that I heard consistently throughout the day. Number one is the Ridwell issue had come up a number of times with regards to people's concerns. And I think they were kind of sent to my booth, perhaps, by others with concerns. But I thought it was very interesting. I really tried to dialogue as best I could with these folks to really get what was on their mind. And I think that the theme that I resonated with me as I shared with them, that I don't think they were really aware, and I could be wrong, and I really think we need to have some kind of a update on that from our staff, and that is that while Ridwell was or is offering that type of service, I think it's more about what they actually do with the material they collect, because they're not disposing of it, as I understand. My understanding is that they are actually storing it.
That's right.
And I think people are actually concerned that came to my booth. It's really about, not necessarily about the collection so much as it properly being disposed of. So anyhow, a number of concerns there. I had to explain the franchise things there. The other one, and this is kind of in the capacity of the NCPRD, but I'll just put it out there anyhow. A number, again, Trolley Trail Festival, so you can imagine a lot of people had Trolley Trail in their minds. The number, and this, I've heard this for years, but really been increasing now with the expansion of these electric bicycles, that even those who are bicyclists that don't have electric assist, it's speeding on the trail. And animals almost getting ran over that are on leashes because the guy, some comes zipping along at, 10, 15, 20 miles an hour. It surprises people. It is an annoyance, and sometimes there's just not a lot of, people are encountering less than polite situations with this very aggressive behavior by some, not all. Some people are perfectly fine, but with the proliferation of electric bicycles, those speeds are increasing, right? And they're using it as almost, I won't say in essence, taking words that were shared with me, as a raceway, speeding through there. So it is very dangerous for something that is, again, more pedestrian use than it is bicycle use, but that's now increasing. I just think that ought to be discussed. I do know that on a couple committees or a couple neighborhood groups I sat on, I've suggested to the idea of a chicane. And a chicane is basically a curve, and they could be flexible ballards that can be removed if PG needs to access the trail. But we needed to do something because it's really a concern, and people just need to be respectful and polite. I'm going to just leave it at those two. There's more, but I just thought those are the most pertinent ones that maybe required some involvement on our part to see what we can do to direct staff to see if we can pursue a solution.
Gary, at issues next week, let's discuss the trolley trail speeding issue.
Yes.
And then I think we're going to be briefed on the Ridwell situation.
Next Wednesday, you're being briefed on the Ridwell, yes.
Thank you. Any other commissioners would like to make mention?
Chair Smith, I'd like to tell you about a meeting I was at on Thursday real quickly.
Go ahead.
Okay. I attended the enhanced law enforcement meeting, district meeting, with Commissioner Sabas Thursday night. Prior to going to the meeting, I stopped in at one of the businesses on 82nd that had reported to me last year that they had a lot of problems and some concerns with the sheriff response. I was happy to learn that they reported that the sheriff response was outstanding this year. It has been for quite some time. And a couple of takeaways from the meeting was, one, the sheriff's department is involved in law enforcement, but it's the entire society that's involved in law and order. And what is still needed is, one, an intake center to deal with mental health and addiction issues. Two, safety off the street projects to give our police and sheriffs an option to offer homeless people a place to go. These are critical. That's the real big takeaways. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Commissioner Fisher. Seeing no further business before this commission, we are adjourned. Thank you.